I just got chills when I saw that putt go in. I would just go, when I saw it go in, I was just thrilled as could be.
Never played for my country in anything. It was emotional, like you're in the Olympics.
It's amazing how important it is when you're representing your country.
Hello everybody and welcome to the inaugural Solheim Cup. It's a competition between the very best women golfers from Europe and the United States of America. It'll be played here at Lake Nona Golf Club in Orlando, Florida.
The Solheim Cup, brought to you by Karsten Manufacturing, makers of the custom-fit, custom-built Ping I-2. Over the decades, 3 major transatlantic golf competitions have flourished. The Women's Amateur Curtis Cup, the Men's Amateur Walker Cup, and the Men's Professional Ryder Cup. American supremacy characterized these matches for most of the last 50 years, but as the game enjoyed a resounding resurgency on the mother continent, that changed. In the fall of 1989, golf-crazed America awoke to learn that the Walker Cup had been won by a spirited British-Irish team in a dramatic fashion over America's best. Surprising, yes. Certainly not earth-shaking news, though. But earlier in the year, at the Belfry, European professionals thrashed the lofty Americans on the home hole to retain their Ryder Cup, which they originally had won at the Belfry 4 years earlier. The Curtis team was already in possession of the Cup after 50 years of near-perfect failure to American lady amateur teams. So, the 1990s broke with all major transatlantic golf treasures resting on the eastern shore of the Atlantic. That's not a comforting thought for a country that likes to think it presided over the recent explosion of world golf. At about that time, the idea for a 4th major transatlantic competition was born, that being logically for women professionals. The LPGA in America was now 40 years strong, with the likes of Babe Zaharias, Mickey Wright, Betsy Rawls, Patty Berg, and Kathy Whitworth filling the record books as well as the Hall of Fame. American television had glamorized recent stars into household names. The women's professional golfers' European tour was much younger, barely a teen, but purses and competitive levels were rapidly pacing the LPGA. In fact, on 2 recent occasions, Europeans invaded the States to steal away the American Open title, and twice more the LPGA's Rookie of the Year honor. All that was needed was a charitable sponsor, whom was found in Karsten Solheim and his family, who for years had been successfully custom-building Ping golf clubs for America and for the world. Solheim had done much in support of golf, and women's golf in particular. Karsten signed on as sponsor for 20 years minimum. Thus, the Solheim Cup was born.
I'm just glad that I'm here now, and it's beyond my expectations.
The USA's team was selected from the top 7 money winners on the LPGA, plus Kathy Whitworth's captain's choice, and it was loaded with future Hall of Famers. Beth Daniel, Patty Sheehan, Betsy King, Pat Bradley, Nancy Lopez, had 3 talented youngsters, Rosie Jones, Kathy Gearing, and Dottie Mockery. The WPGET chose 2 team members from the top of the LPGA money list, as many Europeans have been chasing healthier purses here in the States. The great Scot, Pam Wright, a former LPGA Rookie of the Year, and Sweden's Liselott Neumann, 1988's US Open champion. They would team up with the top order of merit performers from Europe, namely Trish Johnson, a multiple winner, former British Open champions Helen Alfredson of Sweden, and England's Alison Nicholas, the gutsy Scot, Del Reid, and France's experienced Marie-Laure de Lorenzi. Captain Mickey Walker's wildcard went to former US and British Open champion Laura Davies, the Sevi Ballesteros of this European team. Her inspirational spirit would prove immeasurable in this, the inaugural Solheim Cup, to be staged at palatial British-owned Lake Nona in Orlando, Florida. I asked the girls what they thought of the match play format.
In a way, it might help the European team a little bit because we're more used to it. We've all played that sort of format before, and a few of the Americans I know haven't.
The last time I played match play, I was an amateur. I think I was like 16 years old, so I've got to refresh my memory on match play.
I think the best thing to do in this game is never apologize, especially foursomes.
Who's going to win tomorrow?
I am.
You heard it here first.
The weather for the opening round of competition was decidedly European. Overcast, threat of rain, cold with the wind up. Certainly not a plus for the Americans. I asked Pat for her final thoughts before teeing it up.
Well, I'm a little nervous, but I think we all are before a little bit of competition, and I think if we're not, then there's something wrong. But I'm looking forward to the day. I think it's going to be an exciting week, and I'm just very pleased to be a part of history making right here in Orlando with the Solheim Cup.
All play in the Solheim Cup is match play, which means a team must win more holes than their opponents. Today we have foursomes, which means alternate shots. There are 4 matches, 4 points available today. Saturday is best ball. Again, 4 matches and 4 points available. Sunday, we conclude with 8 singles matches. So we have a total of 16 total points available. A team needs 8.5 points to take the Solheim Cup home. We're about to play away. Some intriguing pairings today. Pat Bradley and Nancy Lopez are out front for the Americans. They're battling Big Al, Allison Nicholas, who teams with pal Laura Davies exceedingly well. The question is, will the power of Davies and the short game strengths of Nicholas be enough for the likes of 2 of the giants of the LPGA? The first shot about to be played in the inaugural Solheim Cup. In 50 years' time, perhaps in 200 years' time, golf enthusiasts will be asking who played this very shot.
The last few minutes leading up to the first drives of the tournament have seemed like an eternity to these girls. The Americans have selected Pat Bradley to lead off, a momentous occasion in her illustrious career and in the historical development of women's golf around the world. A beautiful swing from the veteran. Her partner Nancy Lopez will find that ball down the middle of the fairway. And now for the Europeans, former US and British Open champion Laura Davies, playing of course with her trademark golf clubs. But don't be fooled, the pink doesn't signify passive. And there we have it, they're away. The galleries here surprisingly large, especially for the visitors, whose fans in keeping with tradition are making themselves heard. In today's second match, the delightful pairing of Kathy Gearing and Dottie Mockery will have a go at it against Europe's picks from the LPGA, Sweden's Lotta Neumann, and the great Scot Pamela Wright.
We felt all along that the pressure was on us because we have everything to lose.
And it's the youngest member of this vastly experienced American team, Dottie Mockery, that leads them off. Lotta Neumann is the 1988 US Open champion. In match 3, Free Spirit's Patty Sheehan and Rosie Jones contrast with the pairing of Dale Reed and Helen Alfredson. Helen, of course, the reigning Weetabix British Open champion.
Literally caught the 2 of you on your way to the tee. How you feeling?
Nervous.
A little bit nervous because I have to hit the first shot.
Well, all her experience showing through on that drive. She looks happy with it. And I might say, a little relieved. Del Reed is now on the tee, and at 31, she's the oldest member of this young European team. There's the team of Trish Johnson and Marie-Laure de Lorenzo. Between them, they've been the leading money winners in Europe the past 3 years. They'll be playing the awesome duo of Beth Daniels and Betsy King.
Beth, we're a couple of minutes away from you teeing off. How are you feeling?
Well, I tell you, I'm a little bit nervous. You know, it's a different feeling when you've got a whole team behind you and, you know, you got 7 other players and a captain and you're playing for the LPGA and playing for your country. Definitely puts a lot more pressure on you.
Well, for the greats like Beth, pressure's a friend. But she's still glad to see that one go down the middle.
Who's hitting the first tee shot?
Oh, I don't know yet.
You still don't know?
No, I think my partner, she has to play on the first tee, but she was a little bit nervous, so maybe we change at the last moment. I don't know.
Well, it's Trish, and she overcomes her nerves and pulls the trigger. Isn't it wonderful to see so much emotion at an event that's not for money? This is really sport. The visitors grabbed the first points of the day on the second hole. Alison Nicholas hit a superb 7-iron from a fairway trap to within 3 foot, and Laura made good. They celebrate American style, high five. Laura then missed putts on 5, 6, and 7, and then on 8, Nancy Lopez had this 20-footer. The match was back to all square. And Pat Bradley knew they'd dodged an early bullet. At the 12th, the Europeans reversed roles. Laura Davies hit this beautiful 7-iron inside 10 feet, and partner Nicholas made good. The affable odd couple were bettering 2 proven giants of women's golf. To 14, a dogleg par 4. You want to aim to the left of that fairway trap. Unfortunately for Pat Bradley, her partner Nancy Lopez pushed her drive right there. Pat reciprocated the favour, pushing this shot long and into the right greenside bunker. And she knew they couldn't afford another miscue. Nancy was left with this nasty little shot. The green is sloping away from her. She hits a good one, but not surprisingly, it runs on by. Pat missed the putt, and the Europeans were 2 up with 4 to play. Things weren't going so well for the visiting group of Lotta Neumann and Pamela Wright. Lotta's first drive went into the trees, Pam left it there, and Lotta was calling for a tree iron. Phew, it's out. And with a smile and a shrug of the shoulders, they're 1 down without their putters leaving the bag. They also bogeyed 2. At the short 6th, Kathy Gearing's 7-iron left Dottie Mockery with this 30-footer. She drains it, they're up by 3. Earlier in the year, Dottie won the Crest Star Classic with rounds of 67, 65 and 68. That's 16 under par and was 9 better than anyone else in the field. That last putt didn't go unappreciated by her fast-approaching fellow spike partner, Kathy Gearing. Then at 7, Dottie demonstrated just how you get to 16 under par. What magnificent putting. The Europeans matched this birdie, but their spirits were dashed, and Dottie was on a roll. Now let's jump back to the 6th, where the fun bunch of Sheehan and Jones are 1 up on Reed and Alfredson. Paddy Sheehan, what a beautiful swing she's got. That's a 7-iron. It's right at the flag. It's right at the hole. My goodness, she's almost made it. Well, that wonderful shot of Paddy's put all the pressure on Dale. And the tough little Scot comes through. What a fighter she is. Now to 7. She has this putt to bring it back to level. Oh, what could have been. The Beth Daniel-Betsy King pairing has been called invincible here in Orlando. Today it was time to see if they could live up to their billing against Johnson and De Lorenzo. This putt on 1 by Beth put them on the board. The Europeans knocked it close through 5, but the putts just wouldn't drop. To Betsy at 6. She has a 7-iron. It's the same club that we saw Paddy Sheehan almost ace with just moments ago. And believe it or not, she's knocked it inside her teammates. What superb shot making. It's literally hanging on the lip. And that made it 2 up, Betsy and Beth. After bogeys at 10 and 11, the Europeans were down by 4, and by 13, Trish and Mary Law knew that this was not to be their day, as Johnson flies the pin and leaves De Lorenzi this drive of a putt. And Betsy and Beth just keep on coming. It's another lovely shot, this time from Daniels. Now to 15. It's a 548-yard par 5 and borders Lake Nona. It's reachable in 2, especially when Laura Davies is driving. Pat Bradley's drive left Nancy in a shallow grass bunker, and she has a tough shot. The Europeans are 2 up and have upset on their minds. But not Nancy. And that leaves Pat with a holdable putt for eagle. Now to Big Al, with a relatively short shot in after a booming drive from Laura. Alison, a surprisingly long hitter of the ball, but with the water lining the left side of the hole, she's left this one out to the right. Caution, the better part of valor. That left Laura with a difficult little chip. If they get down in 2 from there, they've done well. Nancy and Pat, of course, with an almost guaranteed birdie. So this is a crucial shot. Oh, it's a thing of beauty. It's easy to see how she shot a 63 just a couple of weeks ago in Biarritz. The two Brits have really put the pressure on now. And Nancy knows it. Pat missed the eagle putt, so 15 was halved, as was 16, and the Europeans were in control. Talking with Alison earlier in the week, she said that as a teenager she received a gift of Nancy Lopez's book, Woman Golfer, and a dream began. So it's 17 and Dormy. Laura and Alison need a half to win the match. It's Davis to hit, and believe it or not, she's got a 9-iron. She really does hit it like the men. It's on the green, and it looks like a safe par. And the dream is that much closer. Pat now has the awesome responsibility of keeping the US team in the match. They need a birdie. Well, it's really not threatening, but it's Nancy Lopez putting, and anything can happen. Well, there are many European fans in that group that are praying that their side can salvage at least a point out of today's matches. But Nancy isn't ready to concede yet. And here's little Alison Nicholas. What a big putt this is for her. This really is the sort of thing that dreams are made of. Composed on the exterior, but I can promise you, there's so many thoughts going through her mind. What a day. And under the circumstances, a more than adequate putt. Nancy looked at her putt from every angle. She has to make it to stay in the match. Oh, it looks like she pulled it. And she knows that that could be that. So Laura Davis with this one to win it. By no means a gimme. It's getting longer by the second. Come on, hurry up, Laura. And there you have it. They dared to dream, and the dream becomes a reality. Davis Nicholas upset two of the best ever, Bradley and Lopez.
You were both nervous before you went out. How are you feeling now?
I'm shaking like a leaf now. Oh.
I'm just jubilant. It's fantastic, really great. Can't believe it. Nancy Lopez, everyone knows Nancy Lopez, don't they? She was my hero when I first started playing, and it's just tremendous.
You've got 1 point out of the day. How important was this 1 point, do you think, to the team?
I think very, very important for morale. I mean, we've got one and we can build on that now. If we'd have ended up with none for the day, that would have been pretty depressing tonight at dinner.
I think so, yeah. But I think the others played quite well. I think a lot of them were just out-putted, and I think that we've still got some great players on our side, and I think we can just go tomorrow and go for everything.
So on the day, the LPGA contingent won 3 of the 4 matches over the WPGET. In Group 1, Davis and Nicholas gained a considerable scalp of Bradley and Lopez. Gearing and Mockery widened their lead for a smashing 6-5 win over Pam Wright and Lieselot Neumann, who didn't have a good day. Sheehan and Jones won 11, 12 and 13 to go 4 under par for the day to beat out the gutsy Del Reed and partner Helen Alfredson. And the invincible King and Daniel were 5 and 4 winners over Johnson and De Lorenzi, who played great golf but couldn't putt. So 3 lopsided wins for the Americans, but the only score that counts reads 3-1 USA. The Europeans didn't putt well, while the 3 winning teams from the USA didn't make a bogey or lose a hole among them, and as a group finished 8 under par. Simply amazing in this format.
I feel the whole team feels that they're due some putts, and we're expecting a lot of birdies today. Mary Law made the comment, I think they lost 5 and 4 or something, and I watched quite a bit of that match, and I felt on the front nine, Mary Law and Trish from tee to green, they outplayed Beth Daniel and Betsy King, but they were 2 down. We'd hit 9 greens in regulation. I would say 6 out of the 9 holes we were inside them. Putt had a shorter birdie putt, and we didn't make 1 putt. We've got to make some putts.
In round 2, we're playing 4-ball, more commonly known as best ball. In effect, 2 chances on every hole. It makes for some interesting play, some gambling, and lots of birdies. Big winners yesterday, Sheehan and Jones lead off versus Johnson and De Lorenzi. At 1, Sheehan was the only one off the green. The Europeans were close, but not close enough. They missed. USA won up. On 2, the Americans were putting first again. This time it was Rosie. Oh my, and the Europeans are beginning to feel snake bit. Then on 3, it was Patty. And you guessed it, this is unbelievable. USA up by 3. Johnson and De Lorenzi can't believe it, but while they're putting like this, things aren't likely to get any better.
The pair would rally later in the day.
Whitworth has Lopez and Bradley together again for round 2. They've drawn Del Reed and Helen Alfredson. Both captains apparently happy with their team's chemistry. And Whit's strategy seems to be working. Nancy birdied 2. And then 4. It went to 3 up with a miscue from Dale and Helen at the 5th. But then the scrappy little Scot stepped to the short 6th. Yesterday she wiped a near hole-in-one off the board with a tough birdie putt, and today she hits a gorgeous tee shot. And she rams it home, and it's back to 2 down. Then at the par 5 9th, from 35 feet, and the Europeans are just 1 down. Group 3's pairing wasn't exactly what European captain Mickey Walker was hoping for.
I was trying to get Laura and Alison to avoid them, and as it happens, they've drawn them, which may or may not be a good thing. I mean, you know, they could be the European side that could beat them.
Beth Daniels at 1. Oh, it's a lovely shot, so all 4 players hit the green. Alison and Beth birdied. Daniels at 5. She'll be happy to get this one close. She's lipped out. The Americans really are putting extremely well. And a little levity there, but believe me, this is a serious match. At the turn, it was King Daniel by 1. This shot by Beth at 7 being the difference. Meanwhile, Lotta Neumann's been hot. Shots like this at the 5th have her and playing partner Pam Wright on a roll. Their opposition today is the team of Mockery and Gearing, and they're still knocking them in from all over the place. This one at 7. And at the turn, they're 4 under, but surprisingly, down by 2. The crowd was buzzing with this European rally. The WPGET has 1 match in hand, and the other 3 are close, with most of the inward 9 to play. Johnson plays her 3rd over the trees. They're 2 down. Oh, it's a good one, and a good opportunity for a birdie. Now it's Paddy from 70 yards. She flips the sand wedge. Oh, it's a little long, but it stops beautifully, about 20 feet. Sheehan goes first. And she's got it. Trish's 12-footer just grew to about 20. She's not been holding anything yet in the matches. But she makes this one, and it's half. Mary Law on the tee at 13. And she's hit it to 4 feet. These girls really are playing some wonderful golf. On the 12th, De Lorenzi birdied to cut the lead to 1. If she makes this one, it's all level. There's Trish. Come on, girl, she says. Oh, dear, it slips by. They surely can't keep missing ones like that. That's right, bite your tongue. Laura Davis on the 2nd fairway. The problem is she's playing the 9th. Oh, timber! Duck! I'm not sure if this chap's running away from Laura's ball or looking for it. So all the pressure was on Big Al, and she managed a half with a par. Now to 10, and Beth has one you only dream of making. These two are hard to hold down, especially when they're putting like this. Allison now at the 11th, another par 5. Laura's big stick has been no advantage today. And look at this little dynamo. She's held them at 9, and it looks like she's done it again here. King for the half. Oh my, and it's a win for Europe. The rally's on. Sweden's Helen Alfredsson was finally able to contribute at the 10th. She and Del Reed chasing Pat Bradley and Nancy Lopez. And that draws the match level. It seems everybody's up when they play these two. The 11th's a par 5. Nancy and Helen are safely on. Dale's got a wedge. Oh, and she thought she had made it. But that's a birdie, and the pressure's now on Pat. Oh my gosh, indeed. So 11's halved. Nancy birdied 12 after hitting a 7-iron to 10 feet. And at 13, it was Pat's turn again. They really are making some gorgeous shots. She birdied for the win, US 2 up. At 14, Lopez was close, and Reed knows she has to birdie. Which she does, no blood. On to 15, and no one's reached it in 2 today. Helen, the reigning British Open champion, has a tough one. And she leaves it just short. Her relative inexperience is showing, and the accomplished Americans are looking confident. Once again, the pressure is on Miss Reed. And once again, she answers the bell. Dale's birdie puts a whole new perspective on this putt. And the Scottish Wonder Woman deserves all of that hug. Bradley for the half. This is probably the biggest exchange in the match yet. The Europeans have battled back to 1 down. They refuse to give up. The air around this green is suddenly supercharged. So heading to 16, the Europeans are brimming with confidence. The WPGET rally has been sustained by Lotta Neumann and Pamela Wright. They've led 2 up most of the way. At 13, Lotta made this for her 6th birdie of the day. And Kathy Gearing's superb tee shot to just 3 feet has new meaning. And she won't enjoy watching that piece of tape. Back to Group 3. Davis and Nicholas are 1 down. The shortest off the tee, Allison, plays first. She's hit a 4-iron, and what a tremendous shot. Next, it's Betsy. She's got a 7-iron. And the Americans must be wondering what they need to do to pull away from these pesky little Brits. And that's brilliant. Now Beth, she's also got a 7. And that transcends description. I'm sure Allison didn't expect to have this one for just a half. What pressure on such little shoulders. But what a big heart. In Group 1, US is 1 up, and Sheehan and Jones haven't been able to shake Mary Law and Trish. Yes! At 14, Rosie makes another one of those snakes, and they're beginning to look like gimmies for her. Trish can't believe it, and I'm not sure that Paddy does either. So another huge putt for the Europeans. And Mary Law sneaks it in the side door. Boy, she's glad to see that one drop. At the long 15th, Paddy Sheehan had an eagle attempt.
Come on, baby.
But she leaves it woefully short. Mary Law made it 2 birdies in a row, so US up by 1. At 16. What a fine shot. So this putt to remain 1 down with 2 to play. And that is the biggest miss of the tournament so far. So it's Dormy 2. Back to the premier match of the day. Davis and Nicholas are still only 1 down at the 13th after that unbelievable display at 12. And both teams are playing excellent golf. Betsy has a 20-footer for birdie. And the girls on tour tease her about a little old lady setup. But they can't argue with the results. 2 up, King and Daniel. At 14, the calibre of play remained exquisite. Laura put it to within 15 feet, barely outside of Allison's, there in the shadow of the flag. Beth up next. Oh, and more than a little English on that shot. Betsy King. Both these Americans hit the ball so high. And it lands so soft. Obviously not a golfer. It's tough not to react to this calibre of golf. So all 4 girls have makeable putts. And Laura thought she had made it. And so did I. Another big putt for Allison. And how many times have we seen that happen to the Europeans the past 2 days? No more laughing at that setup. And Al knows that those misses could be fatal. And Betsy drains it. +3 USA. Bradley and Lopez are still battling it out with Reed and Alfredson. The USA is hanging gingerly to a 1-up lead. They're at the 16th. And Pat has played it nicely into 2-putt range. A huge throng of fans from around the world following this all-important match. Dale's about 35 feet from the hole. Oh, what a heartbreaker. So no blood at 16, on to 17. And oh, how Dale would love to put this one close. And she does. And the pressure's back on the Americans. Pat Bradley's up. She did it at 11. Can she do it again? Oh, and it looks like she's pulled it. And that's not realistically a birdie opportunity. And she knows it. Nancy's up. What a wonderful ambassador to the game. And what a golfer. Same old tempo, whatever the situation. Well, she's out there with Pat, so the European's in with a chance. And there's Laura and Allison with Captain Mickey Walker, bringing in their support for their teammates. Remember, it was here yesterday that they beat Lopez and Bradley. And don't think Pat doesn't remember that. Well, she's looked at this putt from every angle. She knows it's a big one, with Dale in birdie range. Incidentally, Laura and Allison were 4 under on the day and lost 4 and 3 to the great ones, Betsy and Beth. And here it comes. Now that's amazing. Well, talk about peaks and valleys. Dale must feel like she's been through the Himalayas in the past 60 seconds. So this putt to stay in the match. And to think she thought a birdie would put it to 18. And those faces tell the whole story. So the veterans of the LPGA win through. And don't try and tell me they're not excited about it.
Nancy, you just said you had chills as you walked off the green. What was that all about?
I just got chills when I saw that putt go in. When I saw it go in, I was just thrilled as could be. It was super.
Pat, any feelings on that putt? I know you weren't excited.
Well, Nancy came over and said, you know, Pat, just relax and give it a chance. Let's not, you know, try to grind too hard. And that, you know, little key of let's not grind just kind of let me, you know, stroke it and just let it go. And it went in, and it was a great feeling.
It was a tough round all round, wasn't it, today? I mean, good golf. Were you surprised of the Europeans and how well they played?
Well, I'm not surprised. I think they're very good players, and it was great. The backside, I think we only had one par between both groups. We birdied every hole for a win, and that's pretty exciting. And they played tough, and we played pretty tough ourselves.
Yeah, we sure did.
I know yesterday, Nancy, you were disappointed in losing. Does this make up for that?
Definitely, it sure does. We sure didn't want to get skunked, did we, partner?
No, we didn't.
Now you're going, it looks like you're going to go into tomorrow, a 6-2 lead. Does that give you a lot more confidence, or is it still anyone's game?
Well, it's always nice to have the lead, but, you know, in this game, anything can happen. And they're playing very strong. They're putting well, and it's going to be tough. We got to mind our P's and Q's tomorrow and come out fighting.
Great stuff. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thanks, Nick.
Dale, a great match, competitive and good-spirited. 11 comes to mind.
Well, I just thought the only thing, I was trying to hole it, obviously, but I think I was a little bit unlucky it didn't go in. But for Pat to follow up with an equally as good shot was tremendous, really, and I just felt really, after two shots like that, it was gave me Pat. I couldn't bear to see Pat put hers out.
Trish, a tough start to today's match, but you and Mary Law hung in there and never seemed out of it.
Yeah, it was one of those games we were very confident before we went out, both playing well. The first three holes they made 3 tramliners from nowhere. First hole from off the green and the next 2 from 20, 30 feet. So all of a sudden we're 3 down, you know, right at the beginning of the match. And it's very difficult to come back from there, but when you get down, you've got to just hang in there and one by one get the holes back, and we did that.
What about tomorrow?
We probably have to play the match. Everybody has to play the match of their lives. We can't afford to lose a point.
So a devastating day for the upstart Europeans, who were close to an upset but couldn't pull it off. When an hour earlier all had looked well for the visitors, maybe a sweep was possible. Bigger surprises had occurred in these transatlantic cup matches. 3-1 Europe was a reality, and at worst, a 2-2 split was likely. Birdie count for the day showed USA with 26, Europe 23. But 3 of the day's matches went to the Americans. The LPGA knows they had a match today.
November 18th, 1990, the third and final round of the Solheim Cup. The USA leads 6-2. Both Friday and Saturday, the Americans bested the Europeans 3-1 in team play. Today, the finals. 8 singles matches, 8 points to be won or lost.
Fortunes have changed in these transatlantic matches on final day of singles. The Europeans will indeed need to play the match of their lives. And they'll need a bunch of breaks. Gearing had to drop on 3, so Alfredson was first on the board. Immediately behind them, the group of Laura Davies and Rosie Jones. No 2 players here are more competitive than them. Laura went 1 up on Rosie at 3, who got up, but not down. Rosie from 40+ feet. Oh, it's hanging over the lip. And she's prowling it like a tigress. I would run, but the ball stays put. Sam Torrance lost a tournament in Europe for waiting too long. But Rosie still gets the half. as Laura lightheartedly says that one's good. But Rosie's not satisfied. And perhaps they're an omen of birdies to come. Laura won the 8th and had this chance to go 2 up after 9. And she's got it. By 12, Laura was up by 3. But Rosie had perfected her disappearing ball act. Davis by 2. The king right jewel on paper was a mismatch. Betsy at 1. And if she keeps putting like this, it's going to be a long day for Pam Wright. But Pam wasn't ready to concede yet. Pam birdied 3, and it was even at the 4th. And this is her tee shot. Oh, and she's hit it tight. But today, she may have to ace to win a hole from Betsy. She makes a birdie. So Pam for the half. Well done. At the volatile 6th, Pam was down by 1. But she's playing extremely tough. There's a distraction in the crowd, and amazingly, Pam's able to stop at the top of her backswing. In the spirit of Solheim, US captain Kathy Whitworth comes to the rescue with words. But Pam has a far more permanent solution in mind. She recomposed and halved the hole with a par. Back to 1 and the Cinderella pairing of the tournament. Alison Nicholas gets to go head-to-head with her hero. Fairy godmother perhaps, but Nancy wasn't in the giving mood. This for birdie at 1. So a little magic and an early warning to the Brit. Oh, and the ball a little too hot for Nancy. Get it, shorty. At 2, Alison needs this for a par. It hits the hole, but it won't fall. She knows she's in trouble. Nancy from 10 feet. Well, she's using all the hole, plus 2. And by 6, Nancy was 4 under par, and in Alison's eyes looking every bit the hero she had idolized her entire golfing career. Years ago, Alison was given Nancy's instructional book. Today, she's receiving a personal lesson. Here's Lotta Neumann at 2. Well, a tremendous 7 birdies in 15 holes yesterday, but like on Friday's round, she looks to be struggling today. At 5. Oh dear. Well, even US Open champions lose them in the watery grave. Lotta really has been hot and cold this week. And she looks to have had enough for this hole. By the turn, Beth was just 1 under par, but 5 up on Neumann. And it looks like Daniel will be undefeated in this, the first Solheim. The 6th match is Reed versus Sheehan. Dale with a sand iron into 2. She knocked it stiff and made the birdie, but Sheehan still had this for the half. Plus 1 Reed. She was 2 up after 3, then this miscue at the short 4th. It's back to 1, but she birdies 5 and 6 and leads by 3. Dottie Mockery at the 1st. She makes it 1 up over De Lorenzi. To the tee at 4, she has a 6 iron. It's looking good. And that looks like a birdie. De Lorenzi also has a shot at 2, but it certainly isn't a gimme. Now it is. So Dottie has this for half. And it doesn't even smell the hole. And it's back to even. Well, let's see if the ball has learned its lesson. Uh-oh. Dottie found trouble again on 5, where she was lucky not to have gone in the water. But she chips it perfectly, and surprisingly wins the hole. On to 10. Dottie leads by 2, but she's in a little bit of trouble. Oh, and this looks like a terrific cut shot out of the sand. And it is. She made the putt and leads by 3. Pat Bradley in the last group of the day at the first. She's playing Trish Johnson, who topped this year's European Order of Merit. And that's a good way to start. She birdied. Pat at the next hole. And she almost makes eagle. Instead, she settles for birdie. To 6. She's birdied 4 of the first 5, and this is again looking good. She really is knocking the pins down. She has this to go 5 under after 6. And she makes it. And Trish Johnson, who's even par but 5 down, must be wondering what she's up against. To 10. It's a good roll. But it wasn't to be. It's a tap-in par, but that's not good enough today. It's 7 down after 10. To 11. And Pat with another short birdie putt. That made it 7 under for the day, and a shell-shocked Trish Johnson is soundly thrashed by a stampeding Pat Bradley. At the turn, Europe had Davies and Reed leading. Alfredson and Wright 1 down, whilst Bradley, Lopez and Daniel were or looked like winners. The mission for the visitors, a split on the day. We see now that Kathy Gearing looks to have Alfredson in hand as well. This was Kathy earlier in the round. The magic of the LPGA. And this is Alfredson at the par 5 15th. She hit an excellent drive, and her second's looking good as well. And it is, and that left her with an outside chance at an eagle. Instead, she 3 putts, and that meant the USA was 1 match away from victory. And here's the lady that could cement the victory. She's 4 up after 11, and she's just hit this excellent shot into 12. This is for birdie. She drains it. That's 5 up after 12. They half the 13th, so it's stormy. This is Nancy's second at the 14th. My goodness. Well, her and Pat have really torn it up today. Don't be fooled, though. This is not an easy course, and it hasn't been an easy day for little Alison Nicholas. So a tough day for Alison, but a big day for Nancy. This for the win. And perhaps appropriately so, Nancy Lopez wins the Solheim Cup for the USA team. Afterwards, I asked Nancy how she would describe the level of play on the European Tour.
I think it's very strong, and you know, these players, you know that they have the get up and go to go out there and play some great golf, and I know that, you know, even though we've won, they were all very close, and the competitors from the European team, I have to give them a lot of credit, and you know, I think they're just going to get better and better, and of course some of them have come over and played in the United States with us, and they're a great asset to our tour, and we hope that they come over because they have a lot of class and a lot of style also.
Style and class indeed. Here's De Lorenzi at 15. She's 3 down, but still a lot of pride at stake. A great chip, and that left Dottie Mockery with this birdie putt to half. And that really has been the difference this week. This for the win at 16. And another victory for the USA. And now to 14, where Davies and Jones are in a fist fight. Yes. Rosie throws an uppercut with a birdie. Laura now for the half. And that's a right to the jaw. Rosie at 15, she's down by 2. And there's a blow to the head, and that puts the pressure on Laura, who had this putt to go 5 under on the day and remain 2 up. She really does remind me of Seve during the Ryder Cups. Rosie on 16, she needs to get up and down to stay in the match. That's a shirt of one of the foreign fans. If you're wondering, it's Come On Europe. Rosie to stay alive. So a victory for Laura and a moment of celebration for some of the many European supporters whose travels have been rewarded with some outstanding golf this week. To the Dale Reed-Patty Sheehan match, where not much has changed. Reed up by 3. This is Paddy's second at the long par 4 16th, and she knows she must win the last 3 to tie the match. And that's an amazing feat at any time, but especially under these circumstances. But that was to be Paddy's last hurrah, as the feisty Scot shut her out at 17. To Betsy King at 15, she's 2 up on the other Scot, Pam Wright. Oh, and it looks like her club got caught up in the rough, and she's pulled it way left into the hazard. So a chance for Wright to get back into the match. This is her 3rd at the par 5. And it's a good one. Well, it looks like Betsy's got a swing at it. She gets it up, but it looks short from here. Oh dear, and it stays in the hazard. And you don't see this sort of play very often from Betsy King. And it looks like she's got a tough lie. Oh, but she gets it up well. And it's a good shot. So she has this putt for a working woman's bogey, which she makes. But Wright wins the hole with a par to 16 and Pam's second. Remember, she's just 1 down now with 3 to play. And that's a terrific shot, and that puts the pressure on Betsy. And the caddy thinks that's worthy of a low 5. So this to win the hole. So the match is all even, and that putt is worthy of a high 5. And a gutsy comeback from Wright. Both players parred 17. This is Pam's second at the scenic 18th along Lake Nona. A momentous shot in this young golfer's career, and it looks like she's hit it well. And she has. And now Betsy, who has the additional pressure of knowing that she's pulled her last 3 shots and is on record as saying she would like the score to be 16-0 USA. Well, we know that won't happen. The big question now is, can she win her own match? And it looks like she's pulled this one as well, and it's heading for the lake. Oh my goodness, it's hit the top of a tree and bounced to the front of the green. She can't believe her luck. In fact, judging by her uncharacteristic reactions, she doesn't know her luck. Betsy showing just how much credence these girls put in this tournament. Betsy for the birdie now, and wouldn't that have been a fortunate one? So Betsy gets the par, and Pam has this for the win. And wouldn't this be a terrific victory? And what a comeback. But it pulls up short, so the last match of the day is halved. Betsy sighs a sigh of relief and decides it's fitting to make 2 final offerings to Lake Nona. And there they go. So on the day, superb golf all round. Special mention must go to US veterans Pat Bradley and Nancy Lopez, and Laura Davies, the inspirational leader for the Europeans. Between them on this, the final day of the Solheim Cup, they totalled an amazing 20 birdies on this demanding 6,400-yard Lake Nona golf course. And on the week, an excellent exhibition of golf from all the girls. I asked US captain Kathy Whitworth her thoughts on the victory.
It just feels terrific, naturally. It's always fun to win, and I wish I could think I had something to do with it, but I really didn't. These girls were so talented. You know, it had to happen, I think. I think it really would have been a major upset had the European players won the first cup with the talent that we had on our team. I mean, it just really would have been a surprise to all of us. But you have to give the Europeans a lot of credit. They played very, very well and fought real hard.
There's no question that the American golfers are the best golfers in the world, and we're just a little bit behind them, but we're chasing you fast. And as Joe said, we're very much looking forward to hosting this match in 2 years' time in Europe, and by that time we'll be better, We'll have practiced our putting a lot more than we have. Practiced our shots off trees and things like that. Betsy's going to give us some lessons. But seriously, I think it's been tremendous for us to play against you and alongside you. And some of you have been our heroes, and you know, it's a great honour and a privilege to have played this week, and it's a privilege and an honour for me to be captain of the European side and to be captain alongside Kathy Whitworth, who is one of the greatest people in golf. Thank you, Kathy.
It's amazing how important it is to win when you're representing your country.
When we get the Americans over to Europe, we can take them.
So the 1990 inaugural Solheim Trophy goes to the girls from the United States. A tremendous victory for them, but also a victory of sorts for the girls from Europe, who have shown that they can come over here and compete with the LPGA. They'll have a chance at revenge in 1992, when it's played on their home territory in Europe. So until then, from Mick Luckhurst and all at Lake Nona, goodbye.